Okay, and I should be live according to Google Hangouts here. So right now we're going to take a look at an article on the upcoming game in the Tales of series from Bandai Namco. It's called Tales of Berseria. And this is a game that I've been interested in since I first saw the character designs and previews. I really like the character designs. I really like the world setting that it appears to take place in. I think it looks really interesting. But here we have an article that is titled "Why Tales of Berseria is Getting a Female Lead." Something that we've noticed has become a big deal lately, even though video games have featured female characters in lead roles for years. So let's just go through this and see what they have to say. The humble JRPG is undergoing something of a resurgence in recent years, with the likes of Trails of Cold Steel treating fans to a more traditionally styled take on the genre, even while stalwarts such as Final Fantasy take a literally blockbuster approach with movies and tie-ins galore. Things that Final Fantasy definitely doesn't need, and I think things that have weakened Final Fantasy as a whole, because they're focusing less on gameplay and trying to go more with making Final Fantasy into some kind of epic movie type deal. It's like a Hollywood production at this point. I just don't feel like it's a good series anymore. Going off on a bit of a tangent. Few publishers are as invested in the genre as Bandai Namco, though, with its flagship Tales of series about to embark on a new chapter, now in its third decade, which is actually pretty impressive. The anime-inspired series is about to try something it's never done before: have a female lead. Dum dum dum. Now, they're just saying that it's the first time that a female character is taking the lead role. Obviously, there have been female party members in probably all of the past games. I've personally played a few of them here and there. They're fun games. They're pretty cool. I like the character designs and stuff. I know they're going to mention it probably upcoming, but Tales of Xillia had two main characters. One was a male, one was a female. So it's the first time that they have, I guess, a solo female character in the lead role. The game, set for release on PlayStation 4 early next year, focuses on Velvet, a young pirate cursed with a terrible power. With her left arm infected with demon blight, a disease that can turn humans into monsters, she's prone to berserk rages, hence the title of this latest Tales game, while fighting off the change occurring within. I think the premise sounds pretty interesting, so it should be cool. Recently, the demand for solo female hero for a solo female hero has grown, particularly in the West. Berseria producer Yasuhiro Fukaya tells Wired. Generally speaking, when you look at fantasy worlds, like many JRPGs, many of the works have just a solo main male character. It's true that in the 20-plus year history of the Tales of series, we haven't had a solo female protagonist before, but Tales of Xillia was a big turning point for the series. So it kind of makes sense why they're doing this. I guess they are paying attention to the big deal that's being made over characters and gender representation and whatnot. But at the same time, I don't think they're pandering. I think they're doing, what they believe in. They think it's time to try new things, and I don't think that's necessarily wrong. But I'm somebody that's never really had a problem with playing as either a male or female character, just as long as it's an interesting game, an interesting setting, and an interesting character. Let's see. That game, released in Japan in 2011 and localized for the West in 2013, was the first to have two lead roles, Jude Mathis and Mila Maxwell, splitting heroic duties and bringing gender parity to the series for the first time. Mila was a hit with fans and influenced Berseria opting for a sole female lead for the first time. So really, they're just kind of going off of their fan base, which I think is a good thing. To take a new step to the next decade of the Tales of series, we want to have new things that we haven't done before, Fukaya says. That's why I wanted to have Velvet as a main hero. It's the start of a new chapter. So it seems like they're just trying to make their series grow and add new things as they go along, which, you don't want to get too stagnant. I mean, even a series like Dragon Quest has evolved as it went on. It started with you know, the front view battles where you couldn't see, first person battle mode where you couldn't even see your characters, and now it's more of a traditional Final Fantasy style battle system where you can see your characters and you can see the monsters on the battlefield. And I like that a lot better, to be honest. Some may be disappointed that the series' first solo leading lady has such a revealing costume, which this is totally shoehorned in here by the author or whoever interviewed the producer. But Fukaya says there is a reason. Players will learn why Velvet wears that costume during the course of the game, he says, adding, she's definitely not a typical anime happy schoolgirl character. And if you take a look at her, that's obviously not the case. She looks rather dark, kind of has a, I don't know, almost a goth style of clothing. But I think all of these characters look pretty badass. Maybe with the exception of this little kid character, because I'm not a big fan of the annoying child. Though they're, you never know. Maybe he's not obnoxious, but the hair kind of bugs me. That aside, the funny thing is, if people are going to complain about the outfit that this character is wearing, I think we need to look into this a little bit deeper and realize that these characters were designed by a woman. Yeah. So she, Mutsumi Inomata, has been the character designer for the Tales of series since, let's see, Tales of Destiny, all the way up to Tales of Berseria. So to complain about this and say that, it's like, it's the male gaze and all that crap, I don't think we can really do that, because this is a series where all of the characters are designed by a woman. And I think it's also ridiculous to complain about, because this is just a general Google search, but if you search like Tales of female characters, you'll see that all the characters have come in a variety of different outfits. Some are scantily clad, some not so much. So it's really a mix. It's what is it that they love so much? It's the diversity, right? So I don't think this is a problem. I think that they're just kind of, this article's just being kind of stupid and propping it up, making a big deal out of the fact that, oh my God, we're finally having a female lead. But I just think it's annoying that, they have to throw in the, some people might be disappointed that there's such a revealing costume. It's a video game. Get a life. And this just goes to show that it's not only men that create characters that wear these kind of outfits. So I don't think it has anything to do with just pandering to those perverts. Velvet won't be alone in her travels, though, as she sails the world hunting the person who betrayed her years earlier. Leading to her malignant arms, she reluctantly allies herself with a group of colorful heroes and warriors. These include Laphicet, a 10-year-old boy with powers over light, Rokaru, a half-demon samurai, Megillo, a bogus witch, and Eleanor, a member of an exorcist organization hunting the demonically afflicted. Berseria is also technically a prequel to 2015's Tales of Zestiria, which reminds me I need to get back to playing that game because it's a pretty decent game from what I've played so far. Franchise's 20th anniversary release, although it's set thousands of years before that game, Fukaya says fans will find some connections. So it's kind of like loosely related, although the storyline of Tales of Berseria is standalone, and you won't need to have played Zestiria. If you have played it, you'll notice connections between exorcists and demons in Berseria and something in Zestiria, Fukaya teases. There are many hints in the storyline that link the timelines. Although Japanese RPGs may have lost some of the allure they enjoyed in the West during their late 1990s, early 2000s heyday, Fukaya believes there are similarities between the likes of Tales of and Western-developed role-playing games. From the ones that I've played, I can kind of see what he's talking about, because it almost takes on more of a, you control basically your main character. I mean, you can switch to other ones, but you basically control your main character, and the battle system is a little bit more action-oriented in the vein of things like, which they're going to mention, The Witcher and Skyrim. I think that RPGs can be categorized into two camps, and it's not RPG and JRPG, Fukaya says. I think if you look at something like The Witcher 3, it's actually quite similar to the Tales of series. There's a standalone protagonist, Geralt. He's not a player avatar character, and his setting is made by the developer. The player follows his story and feels sympathy for him. Ugh, how terrible, forced to play one of those male characters. No, but I actually prefer games where they make, they provide you with a character with an in-depth backstory and stuff. I'm actually really not usually so much for the character creation RPGs. There are some exceptions to that. For example, it's not really an RPG, but for example, Dragon Ball Xenoverse is a game where I really enjoyed having character creation. If you look at something like Skyrim, an open-world game, the player makes their own character and explores the world freely. That's the distinction, he continues. I'm really interested in the idea of an open-world entry in the Tales of series, but there's nothing beyond that I can say. If we want to make an open-world entry, we need to make so many characters and put so much information into them. That's one of the big challenges we need to face, which I'm sure they could do. I mean, other companies have. But I'm not sure that I would really be too interested in that. I guess it depends on the world they create and the setting. Sometimes I think it's hard to get invested in the storylines of the open world games because it almost seems like things you do don't really they don't really affect your character. It's like your character doesn't have as much of a reason as, say, a set character to go through and complete these quests and save the world. I guess you could put yourself in the role and imagine your own backstory, but sometimes that's not as fun. One thing that may help in realizing that ambition is abandoning the past. Although Tales of Berseria will be a PS4 only release in the West, which is interesting considering Zestiria was PC and PS4. It will also be released on PlayStation 3 in Japan, which is funny that they're still making games for that. While the current gen version looks beautiful, with design work from anime and manga superstars including Mutsumi Inomata and Kosuke Fujishima, and cutscenes by noted animation studio UFO Table, it still feels restricted by outdated PS3 roots. Well, yeah, but I wonder if there's going to be a graphical difference between the PS4 and PS3 versions. Not that it matters. I don't think that these anime-style games really require as high of a level of graphics as, like the Call of Duties and all of that, because it's not really a real-world style setting. It's more of a cartoony look. That won't be a problem in the future, though. There are still a large number of users in Japan who wanted to play the game on PS3, but I can say that Tales of Berseria will be the last entry in the series that will be developed for that format. So the game is going to be released exclusively on PlayStation 4 in the West in early 2017. And I guess that's all for this article, but I guess I'm kind of curious as time goes on how people over here in the West, as the game comes out and gets more, closer to the release date, more prominent in media, I'm curious as to how they're going to react to the character design and what they're going to say and what their stupid arguments are going to be, because it's kind of already being hinted at here where they're like, oh, some fans may be disappointed. Well, if you're disappointed, you're ridiculous, because this is actually a very long-running series with extremely diverse sets of characters. I mean, even in this photo alone, sure, you've got your main character that you can argue, oh, well, she looks sexualized, but all right, so what's this girl here on the far right? Because she certainly doesn't, It's just like in the real world, different people choose to dress differently. I thought that's what they wanted, more similarity to reality, or at least as close as you can get in fantasy. I don't even understand the point of why you would have to follow the rigid laws of reality when you're in a fantasy style game. I think the whole point of being in a fantasy world is to have things and see things and do things that you couldn't possibly do in reality. But hey, what do I know? All right, so I guess that's all for now. Thank you guys for watching, and we will be back next time with more stupidity, I suppose. This article wasn't really that bad, but I do see how they're starting to hint towards that whole sexualization narrative. All right, thanks for watching.